He knelt on one knee, holding out a ring that gleamed under the soft candlelight. Her heart soared until a sudden, sinking thought hit her. This ring wasn't made for her. Every sparkle whispered a secret she wasn't ready to hear. Would love survive the shadow of someone else's past? Hello, my friends. I am Olivia, and this is Olivia's Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. I never imagined that my life could feel so ordinary, yet so fragile. Every morning, I brewed my coffee in the tiny kitchen of my one-bedroom apartment, listening to the faint hum of the city outside. I worked as a book editor, a job that filled my days with quiet routine and the subtle satisfaction of shaping stories that others would someday hold in their hands. But beneath that routine, a part of me ached for something more, something real, something unforgettable. I longed for a love that made my chest tighten, a love that felt worth every risk. Then there was James. I had met him through a friend 6 months ago, and from the first coffee we shared, there was a strange ease in his presence, like sunlight slipping through an overcast sky. He was attentive without being overbearing, funny without trying too hard, and he looked at me in a way that made me feel seen. Every date, every whispered message, every laugh in the quiet of late-night calls built a fragile hope inside me. A hope I tried not to name, but one that refused to stay hidden. The evening he proposed began like any other Saturday. James had taken me to our favorite little Italian restaurant tucked between a bookstore and a florist. The air smelled faintly of basil and rain-soaked pavement. We laughed over shared plates of pasta, the candlelight flickering across his handsome features, and for a moment, I believed life couldn't be any sweeter. Then, after dessert, he reached across the table, his eyes unusually serious. He dropped to one knee, and my heart jumped into my throat. "Olivia," he said, voice trembling ever so slightly, "I can't imagine my life without you. Will you marry me?" My hand flew to my mouth, a laugh mingled with tears escaping before I even realized it. And then I saw it, the ring, the subtle curve of the band, the distinctive cut of the diamond. Something about it pricked the back of my mind, a whisper of familiarity I couldn't place. My excitement wavered, replaced by a flicker of unease. The jeweler's words from years ago, which I had thought I'd forgotten, began to surface in my mind. It was beautiful, of course, too beautiful. And suddenly, the thought hit me like a cold draft under the door. This ring, it didn't feel like it was meant for me. James's hand was extended, waiting, hopeful, unwavering, and I froze, the candlelight dancing over a secret I wasn't ready to speak aloud. The next morning, I couldn't shake the ring from my mind. Its beauty was undeniable, but the nagging sense of wrongness refused to leave me. I needed answers before I let my heart fully surrender. So I told James I wanted to get it resized, a small, practical reason, harmless enough to calm my swirling doubts. The jewelry shop was quiet, the kind of place where soft chimes announced every customer and the scent of polished metal hung in the air. I slid the ring across the velvet counter, my fingers trembling slightly. The jeweler, a meticulous man with silver streaks in his hair, studied it carefully under the magnifying glass. "Interesting," he muttered, not looking up. "May I ask, where did you get this?" "It was given to me," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, "by my fiancé." He nodded slowly, still examining the piece. Then he paused, eyes narrowing, as though recognizing something buried in the metal itself. My chest tightened. The soft tick of the wall clock became deafening, each second stretching unbearably long. This isn't just any ring," he said finally, voice low. "This design, This diamond was custom made. I remember it very clearly. It wasn't for the woman who brought it here. It was for someone else. A cold wave of shock crashed over me, and I gripped the counter for support. "Someone else," I whispered, barely believing the words. The jeweler leaned closer. "Yes, I remember, because it caused a bit of a stir. The customer who ordered it, she never got it. Returned it, actually. The ring was repurposed." I felt as though the floor beneath me had shifted. Repurposed, not new, not meant for me. The ring James had slipped onto my finger, the same ring that had made my heart soar only hours ago, carried someone else's history, someone he had loved before. I wanted to ask the jeweler more, but fear and confusion tangled my tongue. How could James propose with this? Did he know? Was this deliberate? My mind raced, images of our months together flashing like a storm of memories. Every laugh, every shared glance, every whispered "I love you." And yet, doubt slithered in. I felt betrayed, but I also felt a deeper, almost painful curiosity. Who was she? Why hadn't he mentioned it? Was I supposed to just ignore this history? I left the shop with the ring in my hand, my mind a whirlwind of emotions. Outside, the city carried on, oblivious to my turmoil. The autumn breeze tugged at my coat, and for the first time, the sunlight felt sharp instead of warm. I couldn't go home. Not yet. I needed to see him, to hear it from his own mouth, to understand. My hands shook as I dialed his number, the familiar ringtone now a drumbeat of tension. When James answered, his voice was soft, happy, unsuspecting. "Hey, beautiful. How's your morning?" I swallowed hard, my voice trembling. "James, we need to talk. About the ring." There was a pause on the other end, a silence so heavy it pressed against my chest like a physical weight. And then, almost as if he had been bracing for it, he said quietly, "I guess it's time I'd tell you everything." I waited in the park near our favorite cafe, the ring heavy in my pocket, my chest tight with anticipation and dread. When James arrived, he looked as calm as ever, his easy smile in place, but his eyes held a shadow I hadn't noticed before. Something in him told me this conversation would change everything. We sat on the bench, the crisp autumn air swirling around us, leaves skittering across the pavement. I couldn't meet his gaze at first. My hands fidgeted with my scarf, heart hammering in my chest. Finally, I forced myself to speak. "James, why did you propose with this ring?" My voice trembled, barely above a whisper. It wasn't made for me." He inhaled slowly, shoulders tensing. "Olivia, you're right. It wasn't originally made for you, and I need you to hear the whole story before you decide anything." I braced myself, the tension in my body coiling like a spring ready to snap. "I met her years ago," he began, voice low, deliberate. "My ex. I thought we'd be together forever. I even had this ring made for her. But she left. She didn't take the ring, and I couldn't bring myself to throw it away. It was too precious to me, not because of her, but because it was a promise I'd once made, a promise that taught me how much love could mean." My stomach knotted, a mixture of anger and confusion bubbling up. "So you just gave it to me? A ring with someone else's past?" He shook his head, reaching across to hold my hands. His touch was warm, grounding, and for a moment I felt the familiar comfort of him. "No, Olivia, that's not it. I gave it to you because I realized that this ring, this symbol, wasn't about the past at all. It's about the future and the life I want to build with you. Every moment with you has shown me what love really is. I couldn't have that with her, but I can with you." The sincerity in his eyes made my heart ache. Part of me wanted to believe him entirely, the way I had wanted to believe in love all along. But another part, the cautious, scarred part, whispered warnings I couldn't ignore. "You mean you didn't tell me because—" I couldn't finish the question. I didn't know if I wanted the answer. "Because I wanted it to be about us," he said softly. "I wanted you to know that my love isn't tied to the past, Olivia. It's yours, completely. This ring, it was just the vessel. You are the meaning." My throat tightened. The words were beautiful, but I still felt the sting of someone else's shadow in the glittering diamond. Could love truly survive that kind of history? Could I trust him with my heart after such a revelation? I looked down at the ring again, its facets catching the sun, each sparkle a reminder of the twisty, complicated path that had led us here. My mind raced, torn between fear and hope. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw it all away. But I also wanted to believe that love could rise from uncertainty, stronger than the secrets that shadowed it. Then, as if sensing my turmoil, James gently lifted my hand to his lips. "Whatever you decide," he said, voice trembling slightly, "I will wait. I will fight for us, Olivia. But I need you to promise me one thing. Don't let the past dictate our future." I swallowed hard, staring at him, at the ring, at the man I loved. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about a ring. It was about trust, forgiveness, and whether I could allow myself to leap, even when the ground beneath felt uncertain. The wind picked up, scattering the fallen leaves like memories around our feet, and I knew that the decision I made now would change everything. I stood there in the park, the crisp autumn wind tugging at my hair, James's hands still gently holding mine. My mind spun, replaying every word, every memory of our time together, every quiet moment that had made me feel alive in a way I hadn't before. The ring weighed heavy, not just on my finger, but in my heart, carrying the echoes of the past. For a long moment, I said nothing. I felt the pull of fear, the shadow of doubt threatening to drown me. And yet, beneath that fear, a softer voice whispered, the voice I had ignored too long, the one that reminded me why I had fallen for him in the first place. James wasn't perfect. The ring wasn't perfect. But love was worth the risk. Love was messy and complicated, and it scared me, but it also made my heart sing. Finally, I lifted my gaze to his, searching for truth in the eyes I had come to trust more than my own. "James," I whispered, my voice trembling, "I can't pretend the past isn't there, but I also can't ignore what we have. I want to try. I want to love you fully, with everything I am." His eyes glistened with relief, and a smile broke across his face, gentle but radiant. "That's all I've ever wanted to hear," he said softly. "I promise, Olivia, I will spend every day showing you that this, us, is real. No shadows, no secrets, just love." The ring sparkled in the sunlight as I looked down at it again. Now, it felt different. Not a relic of someone else's story, but a symbol of ours. I let my fingers trace the smooth curve of the band, the diamond catching the light, and for the first time, I felt only hope. James pulled me close, and I rested my head against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. The world seemed to slow around us. The city noise faded, the leaves rustled softly, and all that remained was this quiet, fragile moment between two people learning to trust again. I realized then that love wasn't about perfection. It wasn't about starting fresh or erasing the past. It was about embracing everything, the mistakes, the history, the scars, and choosing to move forward together anyway. That choice was terrifying, yes, but it was also the most liberating feeling I had ever known. And as James whispered my name, his voice warm and unwavering, I felt it in my chest, a surge of courage, of certainty, of love that had survived doubts, secrets, and fear. The ring no longer mattered, not because its past was erased, but because it had led me to this moment, to him, to the life we were about to build together. I smiled, finally letting go of the last traces of hesitation, and whispered back, "I love you, James. Let's make this ours." And in that embrace, with the autumn wind wrapping around us like a promise, I knew love had won.